What if the greatest prison is not one of iron bars, but one built from the promise of absolute safety? A warning is being sounded across the financial world, a chilling echo of a painful past. It tells the story of a looming retirement crisis, set to detonate around the year 2026, one that promises to be far more devastating than the crisis that shook America in the 1970s. This narrative speaks of a system that has become a trap, ensnaring the life savings of millions, with no viable escape. But this story, as compelling as it is, may be masking a deeper, more unsettling reality. Yes. Welcome to us, Financial Market Dynamics. New light by top tray. Come to Unworkable to us Financial Market Dynamics. We invite you to listen to the story and join us as we analyze and decode every specific detail. The prevailing argument is a masterclass in building financial anxiety. It paints a picture of your retirement, trapped and helpless, awaiting a 2026 deadline. It tells you your 401k is a hostage to a stock market bubble. Your social security is a promise built on insolvent math, and your pension is a ghost of a bygone era. The narrative is simple and powerful. The system is breaking, and you are caught inside. It masterfully draws a parallel to the 1970s, a decade that shattered the retirement dreams of a generation. We are reminded of crippling stagflation, where inflation didn't just rise, it raged, hitting double digits and having the purchasing power of fixed pensions within 10 years. We are shown the ghosts of failed pension plans, from steelworkers to airline pilots who saw 40 years of loyalty rewarded with benefit cuts or outright termination. And we are forced to relive the brutal stock market crash of 1973-74, which cleaved portfolios in half and left retirees with no time to recover. The lesson is clear. What seemed secure was, in fact, fragile. But here is the critical pivot in the story we are told. 2026 will be worse. Much worse. Why? Because in the 1970s, there were escape routes. You could work longer. You could adjust. You could move your money. The system was battered, but it was not a prison. In 2026, the argument goes, the doors have all been locked. You are trapped. But let us engage in a form of reverse thinking. What if this entire narrative, while using accurate data points, assembles them to create a misleading conclusion? What if the system isn't a trap designed to spring shut in a catastrophic failure, but is instead a meticulously engineered cage designed to prevent such a failure at all costs? The real story may not be about an impending collapse, but about the terrifying price of preventing one. The core premise of the warning is that the three pillars of American retirement are crumbling simultaneously. Let's examine this claim not as a prophecy of doom, but as evidence of a systemic transformation. The first pillar, Social Security, is presented as mathematically insolvent. The statistics are stark. The worker-to-retiree ratio has plummeted from a comfortable 40-to-1 in its infancy to a perilous 8-to-1 today. The trust funds are projected to be depleted by 2033, triggering an automatic, devastating 23% cut in benefits. This is presented as an unavoidable mathematical cliff. But is it? A sudden across-the-board 23% cut is not just a mathematical event. It is a political event of suicidal proportions. No politician wants to be the one who pulled the rug out from under 70 million seniors. So what if the insolvency isn't a trigger for collapse, but a catalyst for a managed demolition? The system won't be allowed to simply fail. Instead, it will be subtly and progressively weakened. We won't see a single dramatic cut. We will see a slow erosion of benefits disguised as responsible reform. The retirement age will be nudged higher, from 67 to 68, then 69. The formula for calculating cost of living adjustments will be tweaked to underestimate real inflation, ensuring that benefits never quite keep pace with expenses. Means testing will be introduced, penalizing those who are prudent enough to save. The system won't crash. It will be engineered to deliver less, so gradually that there is no single moment of public outrage. The pillar isn't crumbling. It's being systematically hollowed out from the inside. The second pillar, pensions, is correctly identified as nearly extinct in the private sector and catastrophically underfunded in the public sector. The examples of Detroit, Illinois, and New Jersey are not just warnings. They are blueprints for the future. This isn't a flaw in the new system. It's a foundational feature. The deliberate phasing out of defined benefit pensions was a crucial step in shifting the entire burden of retirement risk from corporations and governments directly onto the individual. This wasn't an accident. It was a multi-decade transfer of responsibility, forcing the population into the third and final pillar, the 401k. And it is here, within the 401k system, that we find the true nature of the cage. The mainstream warning focuses on the 401k being trapped in a stock market bubble. It points to historically high price-to-earnings ratios, comparing today's market to the precipice of the 1999 and 2008 crashes. The trap, as described, is a brutal choice. Stay in the market and face a 40-50% loss, or get out and pay massive early withdrawal penalties and taxes, losing 30-40% immediate. No good options, just different ways to lose. This framing is brilliant because it makes you focus on the wrong threat. The real purpose of the penalties and taxes isn't to punish you, it's to dissuade you from leaving. They are the bars of the cage, designed to prevent a mass exit. The system's greatest fear isn't that you lose money, it's that you withdraw your capital from the market. A market run by millions of retirees, pulling their funds, would trigger the very collapse the authorities are desperate to avoid. So you are not trapped in a failing system. You are locked inside a system that cannot be yalla-do to fail. Your capital is the fuel required to keep the engine running. What if the real risk isn't a sudden crash, but a long grinding stagnation? The lessons of 1929, 1970, and 2008 were learned all too well by central banks and governments. The primary directive is no longer to let markets clear or to allow for creative destruction. The primary directive is to prevent systemic collapse at any cost. This means that a 2008-style 50% crash is the one thing they will deploy infinite resources to stop. So, instead of a heart attack, the system is engineered to have a chronic, debilitating disease. This is the scenario of Japanification. The market doesn't crash, it simply goes nowhere for a decade or more. Stock prices remain nominally high, propped up by continuous monetary intervention and corporate buybacks. Your 401k statement might show a balance of $1 million year after year, but while the nominal value is preserved, its real purchasing power is being systematically destroyed by persistent inflation. The very inflation that is a byproduct of the monetary policy is used to prevent the crash. Wealth doesn't vanish in a spectacular crash. It is silently transferred away from you through currency debasement. You don't lose half your money overnight. You lose half your money's value over 10 years, and you are forced to watch it happen from inside the cage because the cost of getting out is too high. This is a far more insidious trap than the one described in the popular narrative. A crash is a clear and present danger that inspires action. A slow erosion of purchasing power is a quiet malaise that encourages complacency until it is too late. Let's revisit the comparison to the 1970s through this new lens. In the 1970s, the crisis was defined by high inflation and high interest rates. This was painful for bondholders and pensioners, but it offered an escape for savers. A retiree could move their money out of a stagnant stock market and into a certificate of deposit earning double-digit interest. You could earn safe, real returns. That option no longer exists. Today, we have engineered a system where interest rates are deliberately kept below the real rate of inflation. Holding cash or bonds is a guaranteed loss of purchasing power. You are actively punished for seeking safety. This forces everyone, from young savers to retirees, into risk assets like the stock market. You are not just invited into the market. You are herded into it with no other viable place to go. The ability to work longer was another 1970s escape hatch. Today, that hatch is closing. Audio discrimination, while illegal, is rampant. Technological disruption and AI are making entire skill sets obsolete, particularly for older workers. The jobs available to a 70-year-old whose retirement has failed are unlikely to provide a dignified standard of living. This isn't a random outcome. It's a consequence of an economy focused on efficiency and cost-cutting, further locking people into dependence on their financial accounts. The most crucial difference is the one we started with. The 1970s system was stressed but had outlets for the pressure. The 2026 system is designed to contain all the pressure internally. It cannot break, so instead, it expands and suffocates those inside it. The timeline of this crisis is also different. The popular warning points to 2033 as the date for Social Security's reckoning. It sees the increasing number of baby boomer withdrawals as a trigger for a market crash between 2026 and 2030. But in our reverse scenario, these are not triggers for a crash. They are justifications for more intervention. The demographic selling pressure from retiring boomers will be met with even greater quantitative easing or direct market support from central banks. The Social Security funding gap won't result in a sudden cut. It will result in Congress authorizing the Treasury to borrow more money, adding to the national debt and fueling the very inflation that erodes your 400x value. Every problem becomes a reason to reinforce the cage. The trap isn't set to snap shut in the future. We are already in it. The crisis is not an event on the horizon. It is the environment we are living in now. Let's trace the real-world scenarios not of a crash, but of this managed decline. You are a 68-year-old retiree. Your $1 million 400k doesn't crash. It fluctuates but effectively ends the next decade right where it started. However, due to an average inflation of 4% per year, the cost of living has increased by nearly 50%. Your $1 million now only buys what $675 used to. Your annual withdrawals have to increase just to maintain your lifestyle, depleting your principal faster and faster. You haven't lost a penny in the market, yet you are running out of money. You are trapped by eroding value. Or consider the 55-year-old, 15 years from retirement. You continue to diligently contribute to your 401k. The market, kept afloat by policy, fails to provide any substantial real returns over the next decade. Your contributions add to your balance, but after accounting for inflation, your wealth has barely grown. You have saved for 35 years, only to find your final nest egg has the same purchasing power it did 10 years prior. You are trapped on a treadmill, running faster just to stay in the same place. The new truth is that the system has evolved. It has learned from its past traumas. It has traded the risk of acute, unpredictable crises for the certainty of a chronic, managed decline. The goal is no longer to foster a dynamic environment of risk and reward, but to ensure systemic survival at all costs. And the cost is your financial autonomy and the future value of your savings. The retirement crisis of 2026 is not about a crash. It is about the realization that the mechanisms put in place to prevent a crash have created a prison. A comfortable prison, perhaps, where the nominal numbers on your statement look fine, but a prison nonetheless, where your wealth is silently siphoned away. The ultimate irony is that our collective fear of repeating the crises of the past has led us to build a system that guarantees a poorer future. We demanded safety, and we got a cage. We begged for security, and we were given stagnation. The story for our generation is not about navigating a sudden violent storm. It's about learning to breathe in a world with less and less oxygen. Your retirement is not going to be destroyed in a day. it is being devalued over a decade. And that is a far more difficult truth to confront. This video analyzes historical economic cycles and current indicators for educational purposes, not financial investment advice. Please consult a professional before making investment decisions. If you enjoyed listening to the story, please press like, share this video, and leave a comment with your opinion. Don't forget to subscribe to the US Financial Market Dynamics channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos.